I'm not gay, David.
It's not gay. It's from the streets.
You grew up around tractors, David.
Which drive on the streets. Fucking no! God, stop hitting me! Fuck! All right. In retrospect, stop! Stop! In retrospect, I may have deserved some of that. Jesus Christ. We watched a movie today.
Pigs and Vipers.
That's not the title.
Nipples and Palm Trees.
I like your title more, actually. Nope. What can you say about this movie?
Ones. The good things in this movie come in a total of ones. One scene, one character, both at the same time.
Would you say one movie, too? No, too much ones.
This isn't even a full movie. I've made movies that meander and whatnot, and nothing meanders as much as this fucking movie.
Should I give the plot?
Sure.
Can I give the plot?
That's up to you.
I don't know if I can.
And go.
The main character's name is Jackson. He has a girlfriend.
Very open relationship.
With this girl named Harmony, who is...
Very is not.
Is an empty relationship, I suppose. So he's trying to fill it with this just inordinate amount of sex. And when she finally ends up leaving, he is like, "All right, I'm gonna get some new girls," because he's bored at his job and his love life is empty, and he just wants to go for it. But as he goes out and explores the world, he finds that he's not the top dog on the sexual food chain. No. He first runs into this girl who's got way more kinks than he can ever handle. And then he's invited unknowingly to a gangbang by this other girl. And by the time he does run back into Harmony at the very end of the film, boy oh boy, if he's not thinking about sex anymore, he's thinking about love. L-O-V-E, that's how you spell it, love. And then she leaves him, the end. No wait, first they get married, then she leaves him, the end.
Jackson is... played by the writer and producer of the movie. Mm-hmm. Also, I don't remember who the director is.
It wasn't him. It was a different
guy. I know, but the director also was the editor.
Of course.
Which usually is the case.
Good sign.
At the same time, that really doesn't have much to do with the point that
this movie blew so much.
This movie's entire problem, or at least for me, stems from two major problems. Mm-hmm. The writing.
Yes.
Which was entirely centric on Jackson's character, which he's the protagonist, it should be. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, though, the writer playing Jackson makes everything seem so unbelievably egocentric. Mm-hmm. And you can tell that he's trying to, like, paint the character in the positive light. You're supposed to be, like, rooting for this guy. At one point in the movie, he's like, "I want to know about love. I'm tired of this. Like, I just want love and being in a relationship and whatnot." Like,
the exact conversation was, "You love what you love. You love what you love.
You love what you love.
What you love.
You love what you love.
You love
what you love.
You love what you love.
You love what you
love.
love.
What you love."
This is the equivalent of fucking of like that scene in Half Baked when they're saying fucking abracadabra and whatnot. It's like, abracadabra man, abracadabra man, and whatnot. It's like, come on, seriously. Just like the cops in the van, no one's listening. Alright.
What was the second thing that threw you off?
The second thing is primarily because of the way that this damn movie is shot. This person loves the zoom lens too much. It's disorienting to a point at which of unnecessary jarringness. Like, in the earlier parts of the movie, especially when it's like flashing back and whatnot, this movie goes blue, by the way.
See ShitFlix Season 1. Ding.
Fucking 1313, all that stupid ass shit.
Oh, God.
But, I lost my train of thought. Otherwise, you keep going.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's move on to characters.
Alright, well, hold on. I'm going to say what this movie didn't do for me real quick, since we're doing that.
Yeah,
what did this movie not do for me? I could tell the writer tried really hard to put Jackson in positions where, hey, he's getting lots of kisses and naked girls, so the writer can have fun with that. Wink, wink. But he's also making it so that the character is relatable, throwing him in over his head so all of us can be like, oh yeah, that's how I would react in that situation too when a girl tries to give me anal beads. I mean, if you're all for that, you're all for that. Love what you love, man. Love what you love.
Also, one thing about that scene, she has them hanging up on her wall.
Yeah, it's like a...
Why would you hang anal beads up on the wall?
You missed a line right after that.
I've been looking for these.
Yeah, I've been looking for these. That means they're purposely there on the wall.
Yeah, so...
she just was walking to the kitchen one day and went, boop.
Or something occurred right there that the anal beads just kind of left.
No.
Yeah, it's possible. The law of probability states.
The thing that this movie didn't do for me was made me give a single shit. I mean, I related to this character in certain scenes, but as soon as he left that scene, I stopped relating to him. It didn't carry over.
One scene.
Two scenes for me, I related to him. It was both scenes where he was thrown way in over his head. But as soon as he left those scenes, I was like, wow, you're a douchebag. No.
This is not a lovable douchebag character.
No, this is just a douchebag. Alright, characters. Let's start on Jackson. That's not a word for this. No, not protagonist.
The best way I can put it is that he's superficially complicated. In other words, he has a character arc that never occurs. He is in one spot in the beginning of the movie, and then at one point, like halfway through the movie, he automatically switches gears. There's no main reason for him to say this at one point. Like, there's just no reason. He just starts the scene off, just going to this other girl, just kind of like he would do any of the other girls in the very beginning. Mm-hmm. And then, it's as soon as he gets to this girl's house, which actually ends up going to like her trying to involve him in a gangbang and whatnot, and then it goes to the next one and whatnot. There's no actual arc. It just plateaus, and you're expected just to accept it. And then by the end of the movie, you're supposed to be rooting for this guy who's just all about love and whatnot. But in the very beginning of the movie, he's all about sex. He couldn't give two shits for love in the very beginning of this movie.
I believe you are correct, but also in the same vein, this character, it wasn't one plateau to the end plateau. There were multiple plateaus there.
Yeah.
There was the opening plateau where he was just like, yeah, man, give me... He passed by this random girl on the street. They smoked some pot together, just walking down the street, and then he's like...
That was a little later on, though.
But I'm just saying, he was still in the same mindset. At that point, he hadn't changed.
He had tried to go to a massage parlor to get a hand job, like...
And then he's like, so, can I feel your tits?
Well, she says that he could feel...
But he did. But that's all the same character. Once he goes to the kinky girl number one, he's like, okay, I'm not sure if sex is what I want right now, but I'm not sure what I want. Once he goes to, when he tries to get with the gangbang girl, he says he wants just a nice date. He brings flowers, he brings nice wine. But then he's like, okay, this isn't working. No, I definitely don't want this. So then in the very end, he realizes, oh, this is what I really wanted all along. It wasn't a smooth character arc at all, but it was plateau. At least it had
and it doesn't have to be smooth, but the thing is, though, it has to be believable. Mm-hmm. And also, the time jump in this movie is not, like, by the end of the movie, it's supposedly, movie takes place over the space of 6 weeks. This never feels like 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
Yeah.
I knew, by the time we started the movie to the point, like, 20 minutes in, 4 weeks had passed. Yeah. Because he called on the phone, he's like, hey, I've been seeing it like 4 weeks.
A couple weeks.
Said 4 weeks.
Yeah, but at the end of when they were like kind of by the river and whatnot, he says, yeah, it's been 6 weeks. And whatnot, because she's like, hasn't it been like 2 months and whatnot? So like, yeah. So like 6 weeks supposedly happened, and the majority of like the first 4 weeks apparently like
never happened.
It just kind of happens off screen, and we have no idea that it occurs until we hear someone talk about it on the telephone. And it kind of goes against the whole thing of, saying, not showing. But then at the same time, how the way that they try to compress time in this movie is just normal linear editing. It's not jump cutting. It's not giving us any idea of passing time. If anything, it makes everything that look like it's taking place all in one night.
That's actually an interesting idea. What happened in this movie was Harmony was in the very beginning, and then something happened where she left, and then she came back again.
He was just being a douchebag.
Yeah, and then she came back again, 20 minutes in.
Give or take, yeah.
She came back again.
She just showed the fuck up out of nowhere.
She slept with him, and then she left in the middle of the night. Yeah, flipped him off as she left. And then
we still don't understand how she was getting him back for this. I mean,
but then,
because at that point in the movie, he was just a sleazebag.
Mm-hmm. But then, come at the very end of the film, they get back together again, and she leaves once again.
But this time, she actually leaves a note.
I think it would be better if they were to do this again. Like, if they were to try to do it, only have her come back at the very end and be there in the very beginning. That first re-meeting doesn't need to be there.
And it makes no sense.
If you were to have him be a douchebag and then fall in love when they re-meet, that's fine. But instead it was douchebag, still a douchebag when they met again, and then...
And the meeting again part, she does, this whole, flipping him off thing, she just, revenged him. I'm dude, revenge fucking is with somebody else.
Yeah.
That is what revenge fucking is.
And I mean, they clearly talk about them fucking other people. Constantly.
And
both of them.
A problem with these characters is that a handful of these scenes are definitely written, and a handful of these scenes are definitely improv.
You can tell the lines that are written because they don't talk over each other. They are purposely very...
they're meticulously placed.
Meticulously placed words. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you for writing that word, Matthew.
But also, it moves like a scene.
Mm-hmm.
But the improv bits and whatnot, them just talking over each other constantly.
Talking.
And I will say this sincerely out of my heart. A lot of scenes in my movies have fluctuated in the same way. Don't you fucking dare!
What?
But, yeah, it has. And this is a style of movie making. This movie feels like it was trying to follow in the vein of John Cassavetes' movies like Shadows, where it's primarily all improvisation with a little bit of direction from the director themselves, and they try to move the camera around as much as they possibly to capture the action. John Cassavetes was great at this. He pioneered this. Whoever the people who made this movie are not. And I'm not saying
there wasn't even a production logo.
I can't fault these people for making an attempt for a movie like this. I can't, because I try to make movies like this. But at the same time, though, the dynamics of those movies are all about how the characters themselves are interesting. These characters are so one note. Sex is the only thing that is discussed in this movie. Sex and what the idea of love is.
There's in the very last scene, not the very last scene, but in the...
Which is an age-old conflict. He's like, what is sex and love? Can you have one without the other? All that jazz and whatnot. But the thing is, this movie never really addresses those issues.
In the re-meeting for the third time, they're literally driving down the street, and he's just apparently bearing his soul. I don't know, I was kind of zoned out at that point because he's just been bitching about the same shit the entire movie.
Yeah.
And then
love!
What did she say back in response to him?
When was the last time you got laid?
That's really what you want to do. I've
met a lot. I think the writer got dumped and whatnot, and he's like she never understood what love really was and all that kind of stuff.
I'll show her what
you understand what my love is. He's like, I'm a changed man. It's like everybody go makes something stupid when they get broken up and shit. Everybody does that shit. No, my whole thing is the fact that this is a very one-note movie saying that all the girls that this guy is running into are interested in nothing but sex, meaningless sex for that matter. They've apparently had so much sex that they're gaping caverns at this time.
The opening, one of the opening scenes when he goes to a massage parlor, there's the one girl who's like, no, I don't do hand jobs. I just do massages. And he's like, are you fucking kidding me? You're like the one girl in this whole world that doesn't do that. You're weird, man. You're weird. And he strolls off.
He walks away. He's like, no one massage? He's like, get the fuck out of my way. It's like,
it's all about the sex, man.
And
if you couldn't tell by the title, wherever YouTube currently has it, Nipples and fucking Palm Trees.
And, the truth of the matter is, like, yeah, you can make a movie entirely about these subjects. Look at the movie Shame. It's a fantastic film. But that's the thing. It's a fantastic movie.
It has characters that I give a shit about. Weird.
To a degree, yeah.
No, I give a shit about most of them. I mean, side characters not so much, but Michael Fassbender, yeah, God, you tortured soul.
You tortured soul. But that's exactly it, though. Like, there was a dynamic that we had to relate to him on some basis. The guy was a tormented character. He didn't want to continue doing what he did, but he did it anyway. This guy just seems to be... Actually, this guy reminds me of the main character of the movie Spun, who was a meth head, who was just so spun or burnt out that, like, he basically did not see the world around him. He was isolated from it. The only thing he was about doing is getting his next fix, which was this character in the very beginning of the movie. He's like, I just want to get laid. I just want to release. So, like, the first time the girlfriend comes back and everything's shocked, the way that he looks outside the hallway and stuff like that was like he was waiting for a hooker or waiting for like a girl or whatever and whatnot. Whatever the holy hell he
was
like
looking for someone else.
Yeah. So the thing is, though, like, he obviously wasn't being faithful to her. She
admitted.
Yeah, that they're not being faithful to one another and whatnot. They're not even really in a relationship. Like, I don't understand what the fuck the dynamic is between these two characters.
It's never explained. Labels on everything.
Well,
love what you love.
No, because this is called character development. It's not that I need to necessarily empathize with these characters. It's that I need to understand their motivations. If I don't understand their motivations, that I couldn't care for anything in this movie either way. You need to be able to have some pure conveyance. You need something that you can easily convey to the audience in order to us to understand the motives of any of these goddamn characters, besides just simply sticking into whatever fucking hole is the wettest. Like, seriously.
Alright.
My movie Suburban Children didn't talk about sex this much, and that is the entire point of that fucking movie.
I want to move on from that because I think we've made our point.
Yeah.
Let's skip ahead to...
Except for that one scene.
Okay, yeah, let's
Which
talk about
actually
that
didn't even involve sex. It was actually one of the few legit scenes.
Here's the one scene and the one character that we truly care for. I'll explain the entirety of this entire section of the film. It opens up with him finding this girl at a supermarket, I suppose, and they're like, hey, I guess at some point in this, like, 30-second dialogue, they set up a date and are off to do it.
We blinked.
We blinked and we missed it.
Yeah.
But we managed to piece together that it happened. So, okay.
Somewhere along the line.
So, and he shows up at the place, and there's this guy drinking beer out on the doorstep. And he's like, hey, you know when this girl, Liz is her name, you know when this girl Liz is going to be back? And he's like, oh, she invited me over for dinner, too. She's going to get a friend from the valley. This is all in L.A., by the way. Palm Trees. It should have been obvious at that point. Anyway. So
they made it obvious in the very beginning. They shot every goddamn theater and video store in L.A.
So you have Jackson sit down with this dude, waiting for Liz to show up. He offers him a beer, tells him his name is Carrie. Black dude, nice guy. I love this character.
He's the best character.
I love this character.
I don't even think this is a character. I think this guy was just being genuine.
And I love him.
He's a great guy. Fantastic work, sir.
So then Liz finally shows up after they have this nice little conversation about, like, what the heck they're doing there, and they're just talking. They're just dudes talking.
Talking about life, talking about financial struggles and shit like that.
Yeah, they're working every day. It wasn't about sex. And that's why it was so welcome. It was the one fucking thing in this movie that wasn't fucking sex. Even when he's talking to his work partner, the dude who's just this little Japanese guy who's sitting next to him, answering customer service calls for like a copier machine company. That was still about sex. Still about sex. But this dude he met off the street, and just the nicest guy, offered him a beer for whatever. He said that at his dead-end job, he couldn't barely even afford the 6-pack, and he still offered him this beer. That is a bro. Love you, Carrie. Anyway, Liz finally gets back, and she's brought along this dude named Al, or Hood, as the credits say. It's a bit confusing. Yeah. So they all enter the house, and then they're like, oh no, she wants to gangbang.
Carrie just like, well, I'm hungry.
Carrie's like, she said,
you have any chips?
She said dinner, though. I'm going to get dinner. So they go inside, and they're just, Liz is getting ready for dinner.
I think Liz would be okay if I help myself.
They're all sitting there at the coffee table when Jackson goes off to help Liz. They stick back on Carrie and Al, and they had that little scene that we did in the opening. He's just sitting there.
He's just doing the eyebrow thing.
And Carrie's like, I'm not into that gay shit. And he's like,
I'm from the streets.
That's not mutually exclusive, Al. That's not. No.
You been to 42nd Street?
So meanwhile, Al's still trying to, like, hit on Carrie the entire fucking time. Jackson's just trying to say, like, hey, look, are we... He's talking to Liz. Like, are we on a date, or is this just a weird sex thing? Because I just got out of some weird sex thing, and I don't want to go back.
Oh, it's not a weird sex thing, but it's totally a weird sex thing. It is.
So then she starts sucking his dick after Carrie gets some chips. And
they come in and Carrie eats some of the chicken.
Yeah, and then Carrie and Al pop in and kind of
interrupt was a joke. That. Yeah. I think someone wrote this off of a joke, because literally it was like, it's like a white Hispanic and a black guy all walk into a nympho's house. That's the setup.
And it was a good setup, and then they leave, and
if you got someone like Edgar Wright and whatnot to direct and write that type of scene and whatnot, even better is like you get Edgar Wright to write a scene about that scenario directed by Roman Polanski, and things will get really hilarious and really fucked up at the same time. And that would probably be one of the best movies you'll ever probably watch.
However, that entire scene section was actually fairly decent in the grand scope of the movie.
It was actually not badly shot. Everything is handheld in this fucking movie.
And that's what we need to get into next, though, the handheld stuff.
It just... the over-zooming of the zoom lens. It was like watching The Doctor on Blood Island again. It's like... But it wasn't like just zoom. It was like in... jagged out, in, out, in, blur. The focus! Oh my god, the focus in this movie was so frustrating. Because, it was trying to direct our focus, as what racking focus is supposed to do. But the problem is, you need to be precise when you're racking focus, not constantly blur in and out trying to get the damn thing. Did you guys only do this shit in one-shot takes?
I know they did...
You're not William Bodine. You're not that good.
They did a one-shot take, I'm certain, for one of the scenes. I can't remember what it was. Oh, the... When Harmony visits the first time and they get the beers, that was definitely all one shot.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, just...
And everything else they at least moved slightly.
Just one take shot, sorry. It's like, all right, we're good. We're good. Do not shoot a movie the way that I used to shoot movies back when I was in high school. That's not what you do.
Another problem there was...
You have video. You can shoot more.
Another problem they had technically was this thing when Jackson was talking, not every scene, but when he was talking, occasionally the sound.
It would happen with any
dialogue. Oh, I only ever heard it with Jackson. It was just like 2 frames off. Like they had, not just visually, like they had an audio track, and then the other audio track was just shifted 2 frames off. Dear God, if you've ever heard just the ever so slightest echo, just the ever tiny, you barely even can notice it's an echo. That's what was happening.
Then you were able to notice the echo all the time.
All the fucking time. It was like, okay, nope, stop this weird audio shit.
It never will stop. It never will stop.
I think what they had was some guys had the
lavalier,
the lavalier, and then also there was the boom mic.
Well, like when he was unzipping, like you could hear, like it was like that mic was definitely either like right up here underneath the shot, like with a shotgun mic, or B, he had a lavalier mic inside the coat, so it didn't.
Or the shirt, even.
Well, like the shirt didn't look like it had anything underneath or anything like that. So
he was
like,
pretty slouched, I would say, maybe.
but also he was wearing like a wife beater, so it was a little hard
good
to.
point.
So like, I think it was inside the coat, so like he took it off, and then they probably just used it.
Audio editor. Maybe you just couldn't watch it because it took too long to render or something. But please double check that next time.
The audio was atrocious.
Yes, that's what. As soon as the first lines were uttered in this movie, we could tell it was recorded on just some shit.
Yeah. I can't tell what they recorded this on, but it was on shit. There wasn't a whole lot of mixing that went on into the audio.
Nope. Last thing I wanted to mention, we didn't really talk about it much during the movie, maybe like passing mentions. They had this weird thing going on with colored lights. Red, green, and blue specifically. Any idea what that?
I think that they were just shooting it with a gel.
Well, yeah, but with a gel, I understand that, but I'm just saying, like, why do you think they did it?
It was supposed to be disorienting and supposed to be taking you out of the here and now into a different time and place and whatnot, so you'd be able to have the juxtaposition to, be able to recall the memories, all that stuff. I'm giving this movie far more credit.
I was going to say, because
if you look at Miguel Coyula's Red Cockroaches, which is like what I compared to the color scheme to originally, the vibrant greens and reds and stuff like that, it's meant to make you uncomfortable and to draw out the unpleasantness in the scene. In this recollection, it went blue. It went blue in the very same vein of 1313, where whenever something sexy happened, and it was only really actually two memories, and it was between Jackson and Harmony. And we're back to the same scene. They're rooming it, but to be honest,
well, see, you brought up that thing of the colors happening. It seems like they were trying to do them during like the more romantic scenes, I guess. Not romantic even, but just like they were there. I don't know. The only times I really saw the color really shift was during the Harmony and Jackson memory shifts.
Yeah, that's it was usually the only time. Like they changed to have different colors depending on the type of memory. Like blue was meant to be calming, soothing. It was them in bed and shit.
The only reason
red was when they were fighting. Green was like when they were just like arguing and shit.
The only reason I bring it up is because I don't know if it was intentional or not, but in the first girl's house, Jenny, maybe I could be doing that wrong. Anyway, she as they were walking over to her kitchen to get a beer, it was doused in green light. And I was curious what in the world the symbolism to getting a beer was and finding anal beads on your wall.
Budweiser.
Alright, well that works for me.
You got it? I don't think there was really anything to it. To be honest, actually, half the time I choose a color scheme is just because, alright, this is cool.
Alright, works for me.
It could end up being, a message thing. There's plenty of filmmakers out there that use color for extreme emotional states and messages. Right. Look at any Dario Argento film or Mario Bava. But at the same time, though, I don't think they really was going for anything deeper here. I think it was just the color scheme that they chose.
Makes sense. I'm probably giving it too much credit, aren't I?
I mean, I'm pretty much at the end of my rope for this.
All right, well, then go ahead. Give it a final thoughts then, because I got nothing else.
The final
thought... wait, sorry. There's one thing I want to bring up. Two things, actually. Number one, when he gets out of the first girl's house, he went over there apparently to get his camera, or maybe to get sex and get his camera.
It's never established that she took it.
And then he's leaving. He looks at the pictures on the camera. They're from the night of debauchery before with other guys and this girl. And he's in the car, and he starts jacking off to the things.
While he's driving.
And then he gets in a car crash, and none of it's mentioned again.
No.
None of it all.
He just all of a sudden back home again eating a microwave dinner.
Yeah, and then he turns on some porn. So I'm confused as to why a car crash? Why didn't that come to do anything?
He's bleeding out of his mouth when he comes
Was it meant to just humor? Why was it meant to show was it some symbolic thing?
Was that the moment that he wanted love and whatnot after he almost died and he wants real love?
He turned on the porn and he was just slashing back his chair. He wasn't jacking or anything.
Maybe that was the scene that described that to us that it wasn't like I didn't feel that. I didn't feel that. You know why? Because all of his fucking healing and his reassessment from the action and whatnot happened off fucking screen. You know what? Anything can happen off screen. My head could be turning into the goddamn Baphomet sigil off screen.
It is.
But guess what?
We can't tell.
You're forcing us to believe what we can and cannot explain. So the thing is, though, you need to be able, especially if this is a character drama, if you don't have the actual characterization taking place with us, the audience, witnessing it, then guess what? It's not believable. It doesn't make any frickin' sense.
Last thing I wanted to bring up was the absolute ending. So, they have sex. He's like, I don't think I can let you go again, babe. So, love, 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 love.
Doesn't he know where she lives?
And she says to him, let's get married. Right the fuck now. 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 He's like, I can't say, really? You're serious? Alright, fine, I'll get my jacket. And they go off somewhere.
They go down the hall, they wake up the custodians.
And then
they tell him to give us some fucking flowers.
And then the one custodian's like,
border jumpers.
He's taking out a sword from nowhere. Night. Alright, you're on your way. And then
the sword. The fucking sword. It just pops out of nowhere. I'm like, this scene is so zany.
And then
he just needs the fucking Benny Hill music.
And then they give the ring is a ring pop. A fucking lollipop ring. What the? Alright, moving on after that.
There's cheap, and then there's like, come on, guys, like you're not in Vegas.
I understand you're married now, but you really couldn't just go to like a pawn shop, pick up a ring.
And she leaves, and she writes
on
the window
after
on the mirror.
Asking to get married. She
suggests
says,
it.
I'm not ready. I'm sorry. H. Leave. And then how do they end the film? The credits start rolling and he's just lying in bed going, God damn it.
It's like the end of Paul Morrissey's Flesh.
Credits keep rolling and then just boom, cut to black. Everything's done. Movie over. Check out these Netflix-related titles.
It's just a movie that it was trying to be in the vein of like a Slacker and like kind of these movies that are just kind of snippets of the life of things, which I love. I love these types of character dramas like Kids and all that jazz. But the thing is, though, if your main character isn't strong enough to hold everybody, the ensemble needs to be strong enough. But this had neither of those.
Had Carrie.
No.
Alright, ending. I'm fucking done with it. Give your final thoughts.
My final thoughts is the fact of the matter is that this movie was trying to be in the vein of films that I like. They were trying to do a character piece, but it just didn't end up being that way. It was just a movie that was kind of half-hearted when it came down to the script. And when it comes down to a piece that's a character piece that is entirely driven about the audience connection and empathy to the main character, whether it's empathy or not. If they hate the main character, that's another thing, because that's the anti-hero and all that jazz. Or just simply the main protagonist villain, whatever. But the truth of the matter is, there's no connection between the audience and the main character or the ensemble cast. So as a result, I don't care what happened in this movie. I don't care what happened to the new characters. And at the same time, we wasted an hour and a half.
Yes, we did. But isn't that the point of the show? My final thoughts on this film. It was trying to be something more than it was. It really was. But that's most films on this show. It really put in some effort to be something it wasn't. But it fell prey to just going for what I feel like was the most common denominator here. Not so much in trying to get it to the most marketed, because let's face it, this movie went fucking nowhere. With a name like Nipples and Palm Trees.
You would think that at least the pervy community would be all for it. But
nope, it was limited
perv.
It didn't even test the R-rated sexuality. We're safely in the middle of the R-rated sexuality. As for this,
go hard on the sleeves if you got nothing else.
As for the film here, maybe I'm missing some deep symbolic message. Even in just talking here, we managed to discover that the car crash may have been the turning point in his life. But if so, they really need to drive just a little bit more home. I'm all for subtlety in films. Don't get me wrong. I don't want a character saying, and now I have learned this today. No, just leave that, but give me something. Give me just a little thing to latch onto so that I'm not just sitting here going, God, you're such a dick. Constantly. You're just such a dick.
All these characters are twats.
Except for Carrie. God, I love Carrie.
Carrie's
such a bro. You don't even get it.
Represent me.
Besides that, it was not the worst thing by far we've ever seen. It certainly didn't blow our minds with its awfulness.
It had one good scene.
It had a scene in it. That's more than most films we've seen can say. So, all in all, as much as I hate Nipples and Palm Trees, you have done mediocre-ish.
Congrats.
You'll get your reward in a few days. And that is end review. Cool.
Yeah, you can leave if you want to, Lamar.
Well, I'm going to look up to see if we can see how much the budget on this film is.
It's $2 million. Like, what the fuck? Don't you dare suggest.
Produced by James Cameron.
That would be hysterical. That would actually be extremely hysterical if that was the case.
I can't find. Here's tagline: On the road to nowhere, every man deserves a happy ending.
That was not a happy ending.
You're right. It wasn't actually.
No, it was not a happy ending for anyone involved.
See, Al-I-E Hood. There you go. Carrie. There it is. Oh my God, his name was actually Carrie.
Yeah, you noticed that?
Carrie Thompson. No. Huh.
Has he not been anything else?
A few things. I can't tell how many. 12. With this being his most recent film.